I know that some of you are wondering, does Paradox actually listen to the community and do they actually implement the feedback that we give them on the various Tinto talks that they released for EU5? And well, the answer is yes. In fact, today I'm going to show you guys all the changes they've implemented since we've given them the feedback, both in the comment sections here, but more importantly on the forum, which is the main source of them taking that feedback from and implementing it. So we're going to go through all of Western Europe that has been revamped, including the Dutch lands, Iberia, France, Italy. And I'm going to be highlighting all the major changes done and how exactly that's going to be affecting the game and whether this is final or not, because that's a really important question too if you really think about it. Before we begin, I also want to ask you guys a question. What is one feature that you really don't want to see in EU5 that is in EU4 right now? Let me know in the comment section, because let's just say it's good to get an idea of what mechanics we currently have that are not really enjoyed by everybody. The Dutch map is the first one that we have the feedback for, so there's not as much information on this one as we have for the next dev diaries. However, the main changes to take note from are province name standardization, as you can see over here, and then we also have some adjustment to the vegetation map with some farmlands making its way grasslands, some changes for woods, forests, and so on. I have to say this is a lot more accurate, but if you were to ask me, it should all be swamp Germans. What? And Ludi just got banned from entering the Dutch lands ever again. The main one, and probably the more controversial one, I would guess, from the first diary here is the change from Dutch Flemish to Lower Franconian. I actually like this because this is definitely a lot more accurate from a historical standpoint. Around the 1300s, there was not so much as of a separate identity of I'm Dutch, I'm Flemish. That came around much later with Flanders and Holland being obviously separate from each other. And then eventually, once the Protestant Revolution kicked in, also that made an even bigger divide between Catholic Dutch people or Lower Franconians and Protestant Lower Franconians, which eventually became into Dutch and Flemish as we know today. Not just the religion made the divide, a lot more other issues, including political borders and so on. That was one of the major reasons for the divide. We also have Ripuarian Franconians over here right next to the Lower Franconians. We do have Walloons, Moselle Franconians, Westphalians in the northern part. So now Utrecht is predominantly Westphalian with traces of Lower Franconian. Frisians are still there and they're mixed in with a bunch of Westphalians as well. Now the goods map mode saw a very serious change though, and I have to say the Dutch lands has some serious problems with dying. Get it? Because they have a lot of dies over there. Yeah, it's a bad joke. It's a bad joke. Anyway, there's more changes they haven't mentioned. This is just the initial changes and might be, well, definitely there's going to be a lot more as we progress. With the second change for the Iberian map, we've got significantly more change. I'm talking about hundreds more changes, including the locations. A lot of new locations have been added. Check this out. So Aragon alone, it's got 22, Castile 62, Granada 3, Mallorca 2, Portugal 29, a few wastelands added as well. So yeah, just looking at the locations map that we see here compared to the initial one for Iberia, it is huge, the changes. As such, some of the provinces have also had a redrawing of their particular borders. Some have even been added, I believe, and kind of surprised to see that Navarra still is extremely huge. Maybe they're gonna make it smaller in the future. It's got a very historical border, almost the same as the actual Kingdom of Navarra has, right? Topography and vegetation, not too many changes actually. There were some mountain ranges added to go alongside the impassable terrains that were added as well. A few extra flatlands I can tell, and the marshes that are missing from the Dutchlands. Give me the marshes! Give me everything marshes! It better all be marshes, buddy boy! Now, we do have significantly less sparse and a lot more grasslands, I believe, and a little bit of extra woods when it comes to the vegetation too. The big one though is the culture map mode, as you can imagine. I think there's actually significantly more Andalusi holdouts all over Iberia after the redrawn, if I'm not mistaken. And we got a little bit more Catalans merging into Castile areas too. And more of a mixture between Aragonese, Catalan, and Andalusia as well in the Aragonese heartlands. Overall, as you can imagine, Iberia doesn't have too many changes compared to EU4's start date with 1444. We've got basically the same Astur Leones cultures, Galician, Basque, Aragonese, Catalan, Catalan, Portuguese, and Andalusia. The real question is whether we're gonna get some events to go down the historical kicking out of Muslim peeps from Spain as the Spaniard. I would assume that would be an event. We also have significantly more goods now because we've got a lot of extra added provinces, right? So we got a bunch of extra high-end goods as well. Like we got silk in 1, 2, 3, 4, a ton of livestock, aluminium or alum, olives, fish, sugar in the south, wool, and the dynasties are the Ivre, the Burgundy, and the Arago. And then we have Marinids signifying the Moroccan Marinids, and Nasriwin signifying the Grenadins, right? Then again, there's the alternative of Borgoña, Barcelona, and again, the Borgoña. So the question is, which one are we going to go for? Because historically, this is the one that we had, right? Sure, they did take the Arago as a means of legitimizing the fact that they were the leaders of the Aragon kingdom, and it was easier for people to understand that they were the royal family, but they were Barcelona family, actually. So if you ask me, I'd say Borgoña and Barcelona would be the one to go for, but that's just my opinion. This is also them asking the question, so you guys leave your answers if you want on the forums too. Like I said, this is not final. This is just the current changes for this particular area of the map. We go to the old culture map mode. We see in the south there's significantly less Catalan, whilst in the new one there's a minority of Catalan rather than Andalusia in this province here, as I was saying. I'm actually realizing that in the new map we do have more of a border sort of mixture between Basque and either Aragonese or Castilians here, compared to the old one where there wasn't as much of a border mixture between the two cultures as the new one has. That I hope that that's going to be a trend, because historically at the borderline there would be a massive mixture with both one culture and the other living alongside one another, be it in one kingdom or the other, right? That's historical. That's literally why we have Catalan as a culture in the first place. That was basically a result of you know, the border between Hispania and Gaul, or France as we know it today. Next up, they also gave us the feedback for France, and it's again a pretty massive one. Remember that some of the early areas that they worked on managed to receive less provinces because they were worked on earlier, have less provinces. Well, they've changed that and they fixed that really. As such, we've got a lot more provinces in France. We got 141 new locations, and they're listed over here if you like to go through them yourself. They've also added lakes and impassable areas, Parkin Lake, a lagoon of Sanguine, and so on, Vivere Mountains as well. New tags, Bern, Ferret, La Marche, Font-de-Marsan, and Perche. And they've also reviewed the Pop's raw goods setup. There's now Cathar Pop and Religion. And there's another religion that was added. We'll see in the next, in the Italian review actually, because between the Italian and the French review, there's changes in between where we have here in the mountains now a brand new religion. He mentions that this was initially done in 2020. So 4 years later, it did need a bit of an update. That's for sure. Before the game's even out. So we have right here Perche, which is one of the newly added French subjects. La Marche we also have in these two provinces here. I was kind of surprised that La Marche wasn't in the initial one, since I think La Marche was in one of the EU4 or EU3 games. I'm not super sure, but I kind of feel maybe they just added to Armagnac maybe, and I'm not sure. Could be. Pavia also mentions Bern and Mont-de-Marsan are PUs of Foix, and La Marche is a PU of Bourbonnais, whilst Perche is a PU of Alençon. The shape of Aquitaine is also changed, and if we go to the original, which is this, take it side by side and you see that indeed it has quite a bit of a change. First off, we don't have this little dent in the northern parts of Aquitaine anymore. It's a little bit more rounded out, and something that I'm not sure if they mentioned or not, but Mallorca also doesn't have the same shape in the new one. It's a lot more square-ish compared to the rectangle that it was before, I guess. Now that I take a good look at it, it's not just that, it's a lot of them have had their shape changed. Look at that. Valentinois also is completely changed. Porret and Auvergne is completely changed. Look at that. The corridor is now added like that, and Auvergne is just like a continuous blob. Oh yeah, there's massive changes. Holy schnapps. Anjou also has changed. Blois has changed. What the schnapps? That's whoa. There's a huge amount of changes, and a lot more lands has been added to the actual crown of France from the get-go. In fact, all the lands belonging to the crown of France are actually accessible by the French kingdom now. So there's a continuous landmass essentially, even though we have like small corridors in here. here, there is a small corridor compared to before where there was no small corridor. So France was split north and south, completely split from one another. And then you had another little bit here split, another bit here split, another bit here split. Whilst in the new map, there's no splits. All of the French lands are continuous. Oh, actually, no, I'm wrong. This is still split actually in this one as well. But the rest of it is continuous, okay? Okay, fine. There's another one in Fa. Never mind, all right? Mostly continuous. We got the dynasty map mode. I'm not sure if we had a dynasty map mode in the previous Dev Diary, actually. We have the Valois, of course, in most of the French lands. Then we have Devreux. We have Dreux, Bourgogne, Bourbon as well, Capet, Poitiers, Plant, Genet, as the Americans would call it, and Anjou we have in the south as well. Kind of funny that most of the dynasties that we have on the map right now, at one point or another, did rule France. So it's kind of, France was basically sort of one big family switching last names, wasn't it? With the other families around it. They fucked one another a lot, didn't they, in the royal families of Europe. This is the new locations map with the new impassable stuff right over here and a few other spots around. Nothing major when it comes down to impassable though, nothing strategically important at least. The new provinces, with quite a few of them added actually now. The terrain, not too many changes, still mostly flatlands, and we've got the plateaus and hills around the Auvergne area. Beautiful old grasslands slash farmlands of France to indicate that this is going to be the richest and strongest country the whole freaking campaign again. I guess the main change would be that they did add some marshes around the western coastlines. The culture map mode, actually not many changes. They just added culture to the new provinces and that was pretty much it. The distribution is basically the same as the original Dev Diary, with one major change being the fact that the border areas have significant more hashed out lands to show that there was more of a mixture between different cultures as you went from one region to another. Like I was saying for the Spanish area, same situation here, which is amazing to see actually. And from the raw goods perspective, significantly less olives. Pavia jokes here, France is no longer half covered by olive. That is good. We do have now a lot more sturdy grains. I think I haven't seen this many sturdy grains and fiber crops in any of the other maps, or wheat for that matter, which is accurate though. They did have a lot of agriculture at the time. They were a breadbasket of Europe, as I guess Ukraine is today, right? Or Russia, I don't know which one would be. Probably Ukraine. Hell, even Romania was known as the breadbasket of Europe at one point in the interwar period. There's a lot more iron and coal. I have to say they added a buttload of new, like, strong raw materials to the French region with this revision. Lead a lot more as well. More dyes, even a little bit of extra silk, copper. I'm not seeing any gold mines though. Am I just being super weird and blind, or is there actually no gold mines like at all? Because there should technically be some gold mines. The French did have some gold mines. Something that not many people know is that the Romans called gold Gallia Aurifera, which meant golden gold, because there was a lot of gold that they were taking away from the gold area, I guess. You know, there's still hope for humanity when Paradox adds one of the most requested features for EU5, namely the Enclave of Benevento to the Kingdom of Naples. Situated right here, we can see a small little white dot with some PS. That is Benevento, remnants of the old Byzantine administration and under the control of the Papal State. I was actually kind of surprised that it was not added when we first saw the Dev Diary for Italy, but I'm really happy to see that they did add it in the meanwhile. Some major changes for Italy include Verona got an extra province. We see Piedmont in the north on the map itself right now. Some changes in the northeast, namely around Trieste, and Aquileia also has a redrawn map. Not too many new provinces added, however, we do have a lot of trade good changes. For example, we have the actual spoiler list right here. We see also we have the addition of Valdensians. I'll show you guys in a second what I'm talking about. Bishopric of Brixen, Oldenburg, and Piedmont have been added overall. A few new wastelands. So if we go down here, we see the actual wastelands around the Italian peninsula. Pavia also mentioned Piedmont is ruled by one of the members of the Savoy family. We also have a more detailed location map with this particular Dev Diary as well. Only 5 locations, Benevento, Biella, Ficarola, Gemona, and Venafro have been added. This is the province map mode as well. When it comes to areas, again, just slight little changes, not really anything major. When it comes to the topography and anything else, the Sardinian bits is probably where the majority of the changes have been done compared to anything else around the actual peninsula. And they've also renamed Umbrian to Mediano, which is now in the central part of the Italian peninsula. Universal as a culture. Some other major changes here include the impassable terrains in Sardinia, and for the culture, there's less Corsicans in the northern parts of Sardinia compared to how many there were previously. We also have the impassable terrain in Sicily, and I think the rest of the cultures are basically the same, not many major changes. If we look to the Balkan side though, we do see that Friulian are a little bit more in the Slovenian part, and we also have some changes in Bosnia. There's no minority in this province, which we had before, and there is just significantly more Croatian. I'll show you the other map. There you go. This is previously there was just a little bit of Croatian with the minority Croatian here. Now it's majority Croatian in all these parts with the little minority of Bosnians there. They already had from the previous dev diary for Italy the mixture of different cultures at the borders between cultures, so that wasn't really necessary to add because it was there. One more thing to note is that Saluzzo starts with predominantly Alpine culture now, so that's a big change however, and everybody's favorite Valdesians have also been added in the Alpine mountains here. So it's not only Catholics in Europe, there's also Valdesians and a few other religious, heretical religions. Raw maps, small changes overall, not really anything major. Did I say raw map? I wanted to say raw goods map. Why did I say raw map? I do have to say that Paradox massively takes into account what people say on the forums, and as long as you provide proof, sources to whatever you claim, then they will act upon it. They do mostly take info and feedback from the forums, though that's the easiest way for them to get said feedback. So if you want to give any and you feel confident in your sources, do make sure you go there, make a big thread with all your links, maps, and quotes from said sources to back up your claims. Let me know what you guys think about the changes so far, and until the next one, love you guys, take care of yourselves.